Today we are baking and reviewing the iced fish cake from Neopets' official cookbook. Hey friends, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Cinnamon, and this year for my birthday, I decided to celebrate by baking cakes from some of my favorite nerdy franchises. I was able to find some official cookbooks and thought it would be really fun to taste some of the cakes that I've been seeing in my games for the past 30-ish years. I started with the Neopets iced fish cake, mostly because it was the most cake-like thing in the whole Neopets cookbook, but also because I've been doing a lot of Nerf runs lately, and I kind of have gross food on the brain. I've definitely gotten quite a few of these lately from the Asia vending machine, and it's honestly one of the few gross food items I would actually consider trying, as long as I didn't have to finish it. Despite its name and the game cake most definitely having fish, our cake has no actual fish in it. It's a very sweet vanilla cake with a strawberry frosting. I thought that combining baking and gaming would be perfect because I've loved both for most of my life. I've been baking and cooking since I was very young, and I've even worked professionally in some bakeries. I've also been gaming since I was really young. A lot of my computer time was spent playing with my Neopets and trying to earn enough money to buy paintbrushes to make my pets look cooler, and furniture to make them have awesome bedrooms in my Neo home. Neopets is still up and running, and I started playing it again a few years ago. It's changed a lot in the 19 and a half years I've been on the site, but it's still just as fun. You can now dress your Neopets up, you can interact with them more, and there are tons of new items. I still love all the pets and I collect them. My favorites are the Slorgs, and I'm lucky enough to have a birthday Slorg. I named him Jimothy, and he fits perfectly in this video. I always struggle getting the parchment paper the right size to fit inside the pans, but this is what the recipe called for, so it's what I wanted to do. I had to snip the edges to make it fit more properly so the cakes wouldn't be weirdly shaped. The recipe also didn't say what size of eggs were needed. I have farm fresh eggs from my mom's farm, so that's what I used. But it was a little weird that they didn't specify what size you're supposed to use. I'm so ADHD, I forgot that it said that I needed to sift the flour, and I had already put it in the other bowl, so I ended up dirtying a second bowl just so that I could sift the flour. Something I found really weird was they wanted you to dye the cake this pink color, even though the cake itself was vanilla. But every single time I looked at the cake, I was like, that's a strawberry cake. There is strawberry filling and the icing is strawberry, but the cake itself being pink kind of threw me off a little bit. Overall, the cake recipe is really standard. There's nothing that's crazy. I did have to buy self-raising flour I didn't have any on hand. This is day 2 of making the cake. I let the cakes cool on wire racks after I pulled them out of the oven and wrapped them so they wouldn't go dry overnight. We are cutting up and hulling strawberries for the icing. The book says to use a blender or food processor, but my food processor was out of commission, so I did have to use my blender. I do think using a food processor would be easier because the blades were having a little bit of a hard time macerating the strawberries. I considered adding water, but I did not want to make the icing too runny because the only 2 ingredients in the icing are the strawberry juice, which you throw through a sieve so you're only getting the juice, and icing sugar. Getting the juice through the strawberries takes a long time. You don't want to push the strawberry fruit against the sieve or you will get pulp in there. So you just got to keep mixing and mixing and mixing, just making sure that the juice is the only thing going through there. The recipe wasn't super specific on how much juice you need for the icing, so I thought I'd only add a little bit at a time until I got the consistency I needed, but I ended up needing all of the juice to make the icing runny enough to work. The recipe called to use strawberry jam as the filling on the inside, and I would prefer to make something fresh, but I wanted to stay as close to the original recipe as possible so I could give an honest reaction and honest feedback based on what anyone else making the recipe would also create. This cake was really fun to decorate. The cake itself is really messy, and it was fun not having to worry so much about what the final outcome looked like. This is the arts and crafts portion of the video. In the recipe book, they ask you to make this out of fondant, but I looked around my small town in every store I could think would possibly have it, and I couldn't find fondant anywhere. I also don't really like the taste of fondant, and since these were just decorations, I felt like it would just go to waste. I'm sure that having cardboard on your cake isn't a big deal, but I understand why the creators of the recipe would want everything on the cake to be edible. Since this is for just me, I was fine using Sharpies and cardboard, and I think that they ended up turning out pretty well. I cut the skewers down and taped them onto the back, which is some regular masking tape. I then taped the candles to the back to make it look as close to the picture as I possibly could get it. Placing the fish wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. The cookbook doesn't really have a good picture of where they should be placed on the cake, and I had to cut the skewers again. They were still a little bit long. I did get them placed, and I think I did a pretty good job though. They were kind of in the center looked really close to the cookbook, so I was proud of how it turned out. This is what the item in game looks like, and other than missing the gills, I think I did a really good job at recreating it. It wouldn't, so that I could cut it, basically. Same day, just after stream. I'll do a little piece. I just want like the tiniest little bit because I already know that it's gonna be so sweet. It's pretty. It's a nice pretty pink. Oh, that is so sweet. I like sweet things. But that is like this, the cake itself is really sweet. The icing is really sweet. It was relatively simple to make, which is great, but I don't know. I don't think I'd ever make it again. It's nice. It's a fun cake, especially if you like Neopets. It's just a lot of sugar. Yeah. I forgot to film an outro. So enjoy this extra footage of the cake and how it looked right before I tried it